whatever, or spiritual such and such, spiritual awakening, spiritual anything, if it does not include Jesus Christ, when we are referring to these spiritual things, the divine things, it's demonic. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because it's like, oh no, I'm not talking about any other spirit, or I'm not. Yeah, the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and he was using me to spread this device, this manipulative or deceptive device that is yoga, and it was demonic, and I had no idea. And now that I know, I have to change, because I cannot sit up here and declare that I love Christ and that I love God. And even with the femininity things, talking about the respect that I have for my fiance, and the love that I have for him, and the respect, and it's like, how are you respecting man, but you're not even respecting the God who gave his life for you? When you're trying to give pushback, and you're trying to give back talk, and you're trying to tell him why, and he's like, no. So anyway, I was about to say I'm torn, but I'm not torn. I know exactly what I need to do. There are some people that I owe an apology. And I do want to speak to those pastors, prophets, apostles, evangelists who are so caught up in religion that they focus on condemning people instead of giving the information, studying the information to provide to other people so that they know. And I was sharing with my mom, I had so many mixed emotions. We watched this video a few days ago, but it's just been kind of heavy on my spirit, and I've been doing some diving and studying after that. But I was so angry, because I'm like, these super religious people that try to find these things to like pull down people, or try to exalt themselves and make themselves seem better, which sometimes we take things like that and it offends us because it's correction, right? So it's not everybody that speaks against something that you want to do or that you're doing isn't somebody that is, trying to look down upon you. A lot of times people are bringing correction and letting you know. But for me, it was the lack of knowledge, the lack of scripture, the lack of being able to clearly identify and explain why yoga is demonic. That's what was missing. And for me to be able to go back and respond with scripture, right? And be like, no, you're wrong. You're an idiot, right? Which I didn't say that. I definitely was feeling that way a little bit. But look, egg on my face, right? But it also lets me know that I have to go even deeper in my studying. These daily devotionals of, I'm just going to read the scripture for the day that's going to make me feel good to get through the day. That's not enough. I have to dive deep into my scripture, into my word, and I just read the words, but gain understanding. If there's something that I don't know what it means, I need to look it up. I need to know the context of it. And if you are in office, you have a title, you have the responsibility of speaking to God's people. You need to make sure that you're doing the same, especially if you're going to make a bold statement like that will offend some people, right? The chakra system, I didn't process a lot with that anyway. I never really dealt with the chakra system because it always felt a little spookity-dookity to me. So I'm just being heavy into the church and the things of God, I'm like, yeah, let me just not deal with that part. Or, oh yeah, let me just not do this part, I had the opportunity to go to Chennai as well as Kerala, India back in, I want to say 2019. to study yoga. At the time, I wasn't interested in being a yoga instructor. I thought it was boring. I'm like, why do we got to do hold this all the time? We just stretch. Like, why we got to do all of this, you know? But I had no idea years later that I would be calling myself a yoga instructor. And so a lot of information was given to me now that I think about it, but I just wasn't paying attention because I was just like, it's hot. It was like 107 degrees at 5 a.m. It was crazy. But anyway, that's besides the point. I'm realizing why God kept me from certain things in the yoga field. A lot of people looked at me like, well, she doesn't use the proper terminology, or she doesn't say, I want to know what this pose is called. And instead I just kind of navigated them into how to get to certain poses and things, and spoke more about the benefits of the pose for the body and things like that, instead of saying names. And I did use meditation, but in the meditation I always acknowledged God. But I had this line during the meditation when I was doing the guided meditation with them that I would say, God, the universe, whatever it is for you. No, God is the creator of the universe. They are not one and the same. They are not equal. It is not your God, my God, God, our God. We're all here together and with our different gods, but we were accepting each other. Yes, I can I can be respectful to the individual, but there is only one true and living God, and that is Jesus Christ. And I have to stand firmer in that. I can't do the whole politically correct thing in order to save feelings. We were talking about it the other day about being lukewarm and how God just spits you out of his mouth, right? Because it's like you're not going hard for God, but you're not going hard for the devil either. You're just kind of just there. You're like trying to appease everybody. You're not speaking up against anything. You just want to be friends and nice to everybody. And the facts are that doesn't work, especially when you are in charge of guiding other people's spiritual journey in a lot of ways. And so I'm gonna read a couple of the notes that I have from looking up yoga. And there were some things that I was trying to get around. So I'm like, okay, like, well, my yoga is different because, I focus in, I don't, they're finding excuses, right? First and foremost, the word yoga itself has to go. I can't use the word anymore. Not in relationship to me and what I do. Yoga comes from the Sanskrit, yuja, which means union. So yoga means to yoke or unite. And when it's talking about to yoke or unite, it is not talking about yoking or uniting with Jesus Christ. It is intended to be a union with God, but not the God from the Bible. It refers to yoking oneself with Brahman. So if you're yoking yourself with Brahman and not Jesus, I can't call it yoga, right? It's the ultimate reality or universal consciousness in Hinduism. And of course, knowing yoga had some Hinduism connections, I'm like, okay, well, my version, okay, but it's still the name. The name yoga is it's problematic, right? And so I'm like, well, still trying to find ways around it. But if yoga means to yoke oneself with a God that's not Jesus Christ, I can't use it. That's just what it is. Like, it's just that simple. Yoga is the connection. It's not just the exercise, it's the connection of mind, body, and spirit. But your spirit and energetic being is trying to connect with these gods, right? It has energetic components aimed at enlightenment through self-realization, not salvation through Jesus Christ. I said before, if anything is talking about enlightenment or using the word divine or spiritual, and it is not talking about Jesus Christ, it's on the other end. It doesn't it's not one of those things where like, well, everybody's included. It's like, no, either you are or you're not, right? And the poses or asanas, the breath control and meditation techniques have all been used to activate the spiritual power, the Kundalini energy. Heard it before? I don't think nothing of it. Kundalini energy. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna achieve enlightenment. Okay, and the Kundalini energy is serpent energy. And if you read the Bible, you know the connection of serpent is never a good thing. And it's talking about it's traveling up your spine through these chakra systems to ultimately achieve this ultimate enlightenment, right? Which, with listening to her speak and with